Hi guys, this is Bill from Bill's Green Diary and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So you might have noticed that I have a very special guest here with me today, and for today's video I will be showing you guys all of my plants on moss poles. So if you guys had watched my previous video of my mini plant tour, you might have seen a lot of these guys on that video. However, today is officially the first time that I will be talking about all of these moss poles in details. And at the same time, sadly, it will be the last time that you will see some of these moss poles as well, because I am planning to let go of some of them. I'm actually feeling a lot of emotions right now because a lot of these moss poles have been with me since the very beginning of my plant journey. And this Monstera, Borsigiana, Aurea, for an example, it has been with me since pretty much the beginning of my plant journey. It has watched so many changes in my apartment in terms of plants, which plants came, which plants left. It's just that, you know, there's this bittersweet feeling that I'm experiencing right now. However, nowadays I find myself unable to keep up with all the care that these moss poles demand. So unfortunately, I have to let some of them go. When I first started collecting plants on moss poles, it was the idea that to be able to watch the plants mature in your own space and watching them grow from, a one-leaf cutting to this size, that's the whole idea of me getting into moss poles in the first place. But eventually they just got too big. I don't know, like the care, these moss poles dry up way too quickly. I have to water the moss poles pretty much every day, and it takes a lot of time and effort to maintain these moss poles to make sure that they don't die. Alright, so let's get into the first plant. Well, might as well start with this big guy right here. This is my Monstera Borsigiana Aurea, and I have raised it from a one-leaf cutting, and I think I got it in June 2022. I'm trying to find some photos to put it here, but it's been a long time coming, it has been with me since the very beginning. And over the course of 3 years, it has undergone one big chop. What happened was I ended up selling the bottom half of the plant. I kept the top half, extended it, and now, that top half has about 4 more poles on top of it. And this is the result from that. When I got into this hobby, I was really into variegated plants. So the idea of, a big and variegated monstera was just really, intriguing to me. This plant literally stays at one spot because I literally cannot move it around. It gets really top heavy and I have to put a lot of pebbles inside the pot to make sure that it doesn't tip over. Overall, just like any typical monstera, this one is extremely easy to care for. And I know that a lot of, Aurea monsteras, they tend to burn very easily, especially those that are really highly, variegated. I am actually a big fan of this amount of variegation where less than half the leaf is variegated, so it makes sure that it has enough chlorophyll to provide energy for the rest of the plant. So I am using the D-shaped closed back clear moss poles from the Leafy brand in Australia, and over the years that has consistently been the only moss poles that I use. I just find these clear moss poles a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to look at, and it keeps the moisture within the moss poles a little bit longer as well, so I don't have to water it as much. However, for this plant, I still have to water the moss poles every day. And you guys can also see that the aerial roots at the back are just going bonkers. I haven't had the time to extend, the moss poles because in my mind, I was very dead set on selling the entire plant. But, taking it out to make this video today, I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit, I don't want to sell it anymore. I may just chop it in half instead and complain about the same problem in a few months from now. So yeah, this is my Monstera Borsigiana Aurea, also one of the very first plants in my collection. And now let's move on to plant number 2. Okay, so this is plant number 2. This is my Monstera Borsigiana Albo on moss pole. As mentioned before, the moss poles are clear, so I can monitor the roots very closely to see if there's any drying or if there's any rot inside. This plant has been really nicely variegated, as you guys can see on the bottom of the plant here. However, recently it has constantly giving me really variegated leaves, and everything just starts to go brown, because there's too much variegation. But yeah, just like the Aurea, I really have to keep up with the maintenance of this one because again it just gets dried so quickly. I have to water the moss poles every second day, if not every single day, and it just gets to a point where I just don't have the time and the energy to do it. And unfortunately I am going to let go of this one, even though this plant has consistently had a very special place in my heart. But right now it is not something that I want to constantly think of. I also got this from a one leaf cutting, and I will put some photos and some videos here, and I will show you guys how amazing it used to be. And it's just a shame of like why it turned out to be this way. And at the same time I thought about chopping this plant up, like just chop away the tip. However, I really do not like it when plants and moss poles just grow on the side shoot and it grows up. I really do not like that. I just want my plant to grow one way up, if that makes sense. I got this one I think in around May in 2022. I got this after a Thai constellation. So the guy was like, oh, you know what, I have this Albo as well, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'll take it. But yeah, you guys can see that it is very white. There's just too much variegation, and the leaf gets really small as well because it does not have enough energy. Like seriously, how can a plant live with this much variegation? Like, well, it's asking for it. But again guys, I cannot stress enough how beautiful this plant used to be. And now it just pains me to look at it and to think about what it used to be. So yeah, this plant is constantly on my mind for the wrong reason, and I have other important things to think about, so you gotta go. I don't usually feel sad about a plant, but this one has made me so sad over the past few months. So yeah, this is one final look of this Monstera Albo. Okay, so plant number 3. This is my Philodendron El Choco Red, or you may also know it as Philodendron Ruby Juvenile. This plant used to be a very big wishlist plant, and I managed to get it from tissue culture as a very tiny plant, and now it has grown to this size. This one has undergone one chop and extend, and this is the top half, and it has been extended with another pole on top. But yeah, I put up some photos and videos to show you guys the journey that this plant has undergone. Overall, I would say that this plant is an extremely easy plant to care for. Yeah, the common factor between all of my moss poles is that the poles dry up way too quickly. This is also a very thirsty plant because you guys can see how big it is and how much roots it has. Therefore, it requires a lot of water. And what I really like about this plant is because the internodal space is very short. It doesn't require a lot of extension in terms of the poles. So it's been on these 2 poles for probably nearly a year now. And we have a new leaf right here. The back is really red. I'll try to show it without ripping it. But yeah, the back of the leaf doesn't retain a lot of red anymore as the leaves mature. But I think overall it is still a very pretty plant. I remember when I first got it as a very tiny tissue culture plant, I was over the moon, because it was my birthday. So I treated myself with this plant, and yeah, overall it grew beautifully. Like I have absolutely no complaints about this plant. I grew it up from a tiny plant until it was big enough for me to put on a pole, and then it was big enough for me to chop it in half and sell the bottom half. And I kept the first half, extended it, and now it's just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. Alright, so the 4th plant is this one, which is the only anthurium that I have on a moss pole, and also the smallest plant for today. This is Anthurium Crystallinum crossed with a dark pap hybrid. I got this from Yogi Plantic on Instagram. Let me move closer to the camera so you guys can look at this plant and admire its beauty. I really love this plant, so I don't think I will get rid of it. But as you guys can see, the foliage is extremely beautiful. The veins are absolutely stunning, and even though it's not super rare or anything, but I think it makes a very good standard house plant. This one is among a few plants that I really neglect. I can never remember to water this for the love of God. But yeah, it has undergone way too many dryouts, like way more than it should have. I can never remember to water it. All I do is just water the moss pole and just hope that the water, just drips into the pot and hydrate the roots. But clearly that's not enough, like you have to actually water it. Despite all of that, it is really, really happy. I'll show you guys what it looks like in the pot, and it's absolutely insane. This here is the amount of roots that we have. Crazy, right? I mean, I don't know, like it's just super happy. I think I got this in 2023. Oh yeah, fun fact, 2023 was my very big Anthurium debut because I don't know, like I just sank into this rabbit hole and I could not get out. And this was probably is not the first Anthurium that I got. Alright, so I'll use this leaf to cover my face so that I can show you guys this new leaf right here, and it's absolutely stunning. I just hope it gets even darker than the previous leaves, and I hope the veins will get brighter, like really neon. I think I will keep this one with me because again, it doesn't require a lot of care. It's not to say that I am going to go out of my way and neglect this to the best of my ability. No, I'm just saying that if anything happens, it will still live. So I don't mind it, being with me. At the same time, it doesn't grow super fast in terms of, the stem and the petioles, because again, the internodal space is really short, so it doesn't require any extension from the pole. So I think it's just gonna be on this pole for the next couple of years, if anything. But yeah, absolutely love this one. So I hope for more anthuriums to go on moss poles maybe. And we have 2 more plants to go. Alright, this is the second last plant for today. This is my Philodendron White Knight on a moss pole. But yeah, I think I got this plant as a tip cutting. I believe it had 3 leaves at the time, and quickly I got it on a moss pole that was made using the metal mesh from Bunnings. So I made it using those moss poles, and then I changed it to this kind of pole because I do believe that the moisture is kept inside for longer, and also it just looks nicer. But yeah, this is another plant that has outgrown the moss pole, which I am not looking forward to extend because I am going to let go of this plant. And I got this plant in memories of my Chihuahua at the time. Rest in peace, Kiwi. You will always be remembered. Let me get closer so you guys can see the variegation on this plant. Again, it is, I believe, is really beautiful because every single leaf has a decent amount of variegation, not too much but not too little. So I absolutely really enjoy this level of variegation. But yeah, it gets to a point where watering these moss poles every second day or every day is just out of the question. So again, I think I will need to let this one go. That's why I am not bothered to extend the pole anymore, because I just want to get rid of it. Are you guys ready? I'll show you guys how crunchy the moss is. Yeah, I hope the mic catches it, but that's how, not bothered I am to care for these moss poles anymore, because it's just too much. At this point, I am just going to try to keep it alive so it doesn't die before I sell it, because that would be a very bad look on me if I sell something that is dying. But again, all of these plants are alive and well, all the roots are healthy. It's just that they may be a little bit dehydrated, but shouldn't be that big of a deal. I will water it right after this video. Okay, so this is the last plant for today. This is my Philodendron Pink Princess. This is actually my 3rd pink princess because I have tried 2 other princesses before and they all failed me. The first one died. It rotted, which was my fault at the time because it was very new into the hobby, but we got over it. The second one barely produced any pink, so I also got rid of it. And this is the 3rd one. It has undergone 1 chop and extend before. This is the top half of the previous plant planted into a new pot and then extended with another pot on top. So as you guys can see, it has really outgrown the pole, but I am not going to extend it because I am going to let go of it. Yes, she has some really nice pink going on, but eventually, you know, the care for this plant is just too much for me to handle, so I think it's best if we part ways. And mind you, I watered this 2 nights ago. Like, that's what I'm saying, it's too much. It's not like I left them for a whole week without watering. I did that 2 nights ago. I'm just tired. Oh, sugar, I made a mess. I have to clean up later, but here you go. This is my pink princess. I cannot remember when exactly I got it. I'm trying to find some old footage and put it up here. But yeah, this plant has been really easy to grow as well. There's no drama with it. It's just that for some reason, this plant attracts so much mealybugs. Mealybugs just love, you know, the sheath that the new leaf comes out of. Yeah, the mealybugs just absolutely love that, and they get underneath, and when it unfolds and when the sheath sort of like dries up and, you know, falls off, I just see a bunch of fluffy white mealybugs inside, and it's just disgusting. This is the first time you guys see all of her glory in details, and also the last time. Say goodbye. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I think future me is having a problem editing everything together to make it into one video. So that's why present me has decided that there will be 2 endings, and this one will be played in case I cannot fit the second part of the video when I talk about my experience with moss poles. So my next video is going to be about my experience of growing plants on moss poles. But for now, stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.